What's up, everyone? Welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode 188, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and if you're wondering why I'm chuckling away as we start this, I click the go live button, and right before we're on the one countdown, I hear Sam go, "No, wait."
Because I wasn't sure if my audio settings had switched again, and I just saw because you didn't say anything for a while, and then I didn't even know there was a countdown going. I was like, no way, and it was just like comically cut. It was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
It's so funny to me that no one, like, because I'm the host for Melon or whatever the streaming software we use. It's so weird to me that no one else can see the countdown when I click the go live button. Like, I feel like that is useful information for everyone to know.
Would have been nice. But lo and behold, I can hear you. You can hear me. We're here, and we're rocking and rolling. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, on today's episode, we're talking all about that Matt Booty interview with Variety, where he talks studio closures, exclusivity going forward. We have a Game Pass update. The Nintendo Direct gave us even more games to play, and Xbox is returning to Gamescom this year. But before we get to all that, Sam, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm getting very hyped up. Here in a couple of weeks, I'm going back to Southeast Game Exchange, which I know is one of the first things that we had talked about whenever I started on the show last year. It was the 1st couple of weeks of me getting into the mix. So I'm really hyped up about that. I'm kind of taking inventory of the things that I need or that I want, and I'm getting hyped up to go down there. But I've been playing some games, trying to keep up with things a little bit, and I'm back in my live service routine. That's where I've kind of found myself, especially with the Diablo and the X Defiant and stuff. But it's been a good week. How are you?
I'm all right. As we were talking in the pre-show, it is a heat wave currently in New York. I can't wait to see my energy bill when I get that old electric for running the central air, because it's a little ridiculous where I see people talking about, like, oh, I keep my thermostat at 78. I was like, are you a psychopath? Like, I would genuinely be drenched in sweat at 78 degrees. Like, 68 is like perfect for me. I can go to 70. Once you get above then, I'm like,
Wow.
it's a little too warm in here for me.
See, we're a 73 household, a
Ooh.
73, 74 household where it's not hot inside, but also we don't like the constant winter wind flying through the apartment because I don't want to be in a blanket on the couch. But nonetheless, save on the energy bill a little bit on my end.
My perfect temperature, like, I like it where it's nice, a little chilly, and then you can be like, put on a sweatshirt, put on a blanket, just get a
Ah,
little
yes.
cozy inside. I understand people are like, just put on a fan, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right," but my wallet's gonna be hurting in a few weeks. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. I do say that I like the fan in the summer, AC in the summer, so that whenever I play games like Diablo on my PC, then the PC heats up the room and it nicely evens out. I got the shorts and the t-shirt combo because of the heat from Diablo, so that's nice.
Yeah, the Xbox loves. I feel like the Xbox more than my PlayStation really makes the room toasty. I don't know if that's like just the red ring of death. This is all its fault because they're like, we do not want any more overheating consoles.
It's true. It's very funny when my fiance walks into my office and she's like, "It's hot in here. It's like 8 degrees warmer than the rest of the apartment, and it's because I've been playing games or editing videos or doing something." It's pretty funny.
Well, enough about the heat wave. This is Project X Talk. We are an Xbox podcast that's live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/save the game media. If you can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us those 5-star reviews, whether that's Apple, Spotify. It does help us grow. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to Save the Game media content, everything in one nice little bow, and exclusive content, head over to patreon.com/save the game media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silknet, and Ellery Woods Parker the third. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. And if you aren't on the Patreon yet, you can check out that 7-day free trial. Get all of our content. See if you like what you're hearing. We got I Hate My Friends recording this weekend, so you get that exclusively on Patreon as well. But Sam, enough about that. I gotta know, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been like I said, back on my live service routine, mainly Diablo 4, primarily on PC. I found myself playing a lot more Diablo 4 on PC because it's easy to hover over your various elixirs and whatnot that you've taken and kind of navigate through the Paragon system and stuff like that. So I've really enjoyed playing on PC thanks to Game Pass, which is great, like seamless experience for me so far. But beyond that, I've been playing some X Defiant on Xbox as well. And it's kind of like scratching that live service shooter arcade itch where I'm not trying to get back into a Call of Duty season, but I want something like that. So I've just been spending some time with those two games in
Did
particular.
Speaking of the live service first person shoot, did you try out the Valorant beta at all? I don't know if that seemed like something you might have been into. I
I
know
did.
codes went out.
Yeah, so I did get a code for the Valorant beta. I know that I gave one away over on Threads as well to somebody who was looking for one, but it's okay. You know,
Okay.
like whenever it runs well, it's fine on Xbox, but it's one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, Valorant's on console, and then I played it and I was like, oh yeah, I remembered I don't really like Valorant that much. So it's just more Valorant. You know, if you're into the CS:GO kind of like, hey, you're going to be here for 30 minutes, kind of rotating through these maps. 30 minutes might be an exaggeration, but like multiple rounds, time after time. Like, I'm not even big on search and destroy in Call of Duty, let alone a
Oh, that's my
Valorant
favorite
style.
mode.
Yeah, I was always I want to run, die, run, die, run, die. Like, I'm the team deathmatch domination kind of guy.
Love
Um,
domination, yeah.
yeah, domination's a good time. And so going back to a Valorant thing of like, okay, eliminate the enemies, plant the bomb, that kind of thing. I'm like, it's fine. So if you like search and destroy and you might like a little Overwatch, you might like Valorant. I don't know.
I don't like Overwatch. You know, as
Ooh,
I always say, Battleborn should have lived. Overwatch should have died.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I say yes, just agreeingly. I don't know about that one, Chief.
No,
Uh,
most people don't. It's like me
yeah,
and three other human beings that like Battleborn.
yeah, yeah. But if you're into hero shooters and you like the search and destroy kind of Valorant, CSGO style gameplay, then Valorant might be for you. I've been more into the X Defiant thing because they've got really good feeling guns. Kind of feels like an older style Call of Duty game a little bit. So I've been enjoying that. And then I'm about an hour and a half into Still Wakes the Deep, which based on the how long to beat, I'm looking at about like probably 30 to 40% of the way done. It's about a 4 hour
Oh
game.
wow.
Yeah, it's a very quick game, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's surprisingly good.
That was one I was looking at, but I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for this. Mainly because what I'm playing right now, I'm playing Beyond Two Souls with the girlfriend. We want another like narrative,
Hmm.
choice-based type game. We're checking this one out on PlayStation. It's from the same team that did Heavy Rain, which we played earlier this year. And I know these are super old games, but I think this game is a massive improvement over Heavy Rain in basically every aspect. Like
Yeah.
it controls way better, it looks way better. I'm like, it really understood. Like, if you ever want to see like an early, oh, this is a early PS4 like launch game versus we figured out the technology. Go look at those two because it's a stark contrast. Like, I'm enjoying this game. It's a little long-winded compared to some of the other. Like, I like these
Mhm.
experiences to be like 6 to 8 hours, and this one's kind of dragging a little bit at certain points where I'm like, all right, can we end this chapter, get to the next thing? But you have like these weird psychic powers where you can like become a ghost. Like she's tied to some other. I don't know if you played the game.
I have
She gets
not, no.
okay. So you got excuse me, you have Elliot Page now. They, sorry for saying she, they are tied to a spiritual being called Aiden, which is spelled Aiden, but they say Aiden, and it drives me nuts the entire time. But essentially, you can become Aiden, and then you go through walls, and you can like blast open doors and like mess with people. Like there was a security guard that I was messing with their monitor, and so like it has more gameplay elements than Heavy Rain did for sure. So I'm liking that one. Just a little game to. I'm kind of in a gaming funk right now. There's something like I'm waiting for Trails Through Daybreak to come out in a few weeks here. So just trying to pick up something. The other game I've been playing, and I did beat it, although I gotta tell you, I hate the final boss. And I tweeted this. This might be the worst final boss of any video game I've ever played. Heavenly Sword. I know I talked about this one like I think a few months ago, and I was like, this game's not very good. The motion controls suck, and then I dropped it. I went and I was like, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna beat it. I gotta experience what Ninja Theory. Like everyone tells me, oh, Ninja Theory made Heavenly Sword. They can do good combat. The combat in this game sucks. There's nothing
Interesting.
good about the combat in this game. It is button mashing nonsense. The motion controls are still terrible. Like there's really very little about this game that is good in any sense. Like the story isn't very good, the characters aren't very good. The final boss is absolute garbage. The difficulty spike on that boss is absurd. You do almost no damage. Luckily, you got to fight him 3 times in a row. So totally fair there. Yeah, I absolutely despise the end of this game. Made me hate the whole experience.
And so, fill me in. You're saying motion controls. This is a PlayStation Plus premium game, right? Like you're streaming
Yes.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what is the motion control element of this
So
game?
it was built for the PS3 with their stupid boomerang controller, right? I forget what the actual name of that
Like
one
the
is. Like
early PS3?
yes, like the six axis. That's what it's called. Like that boomerang one.
Oh, I think
So
they're all sixth axis controllers,
oh, are
right?
they? I don't know. I know they changed the look of them because the early PS3 had the dumb. I don't like
Yeah,
those
because I think
controllers
the
at all.
sixth axis is like a weird way of saying, hey, it's got extra rumble in
Oh,
the yeah.
okay.
But
Uh
nonetheless, continue.
Yes, but the PS5 has motion control abilities
Yeah.
too. So essentially, like what you have to do is you have to all the ranged attacks, whether it's shooting cannonballs, shooting arrows, you hold down the square button and then you zoom in and you become the cannonball. And you have to use your controller and fly it through the air at these tiny targets or shoot the men. Or like
Yeah.
there's certain enemies like, oh, you have to headshot these. So I hope you're really good at aiming with this bow and arrow. I'm not. It's horrible.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm googling the six axis stuff, and people are talking that it was in Killzone 2. I remember it in. I feel like I remember PlayStation 4, like the early DualShock 4 stuff.
Mhm.
And I feel like yeah, but number one, bummer to hear you're not enjoying it. Number two, wow, what a relic of that age, huh? That it's got motion controls in a game like Heavenly Sword.
I again I shared this. I like to share. I just share random obscure thoughts on Twitter, so like nobody really knows what I'm talking about. Like what game? Because I just tweeted. I said motion controls are one of the worst things to ever happen to gaming. I blame Nintendo almost solely for that fact. Like the Wii. You made me give up Nintendo for over a decade, and then you brought this garbage into our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I go back to stuff like the iToy, even of like, wow, we were digging deep back then trying to really make something happen, and we still are paying the price with random various peripherals and things that are testing the waters of new things. But let's admire the fact that you can play this game pretty freely on a PS5. Like that's pretty impressive that that even functions.
Yeah, I mean, it is streaming and the streaming tech's not great. Even
Hmm.
with a hardwire connection, at least for this. I don't know if it's just like maybe the game never ran well and this is the genuine PS3 experience, but in terms of Ninja Theory games, this one's at the bottom of my list. Now, I haven't played Kung Fu Chaos, their first game, but I played
Mm.
the other ones, and this one is at the bottom.
Well, you might have to add that one to your list afterwards. I see that that is on the original Xbox, so at least
Mhm.
there's some relevance to the show. 68% on GameFAQs and GameSpot. 97% of users like the game. So, I
I,
mean, speaks for itself,
I don't
really.
think it's backwards compatible though. I'd have to go get an Xbox, you know?
Ah, true. Maybe I'll pick it up at
Yeah,
Southeast
so
Game
you got
Exchange.
one?
Yeah, because I've got
Can
one
you just
behind me.
report back? Let me know how
Yeah,
Kung Fu Chaos is.
I will let you know for sure.
All right. Oh yeah, that's all I've been playing this week. I did check out the Trails Through Daybreak demo. That's a JRPG in the Trail
Hmm.
series, which I play. I played the first chapter in the prologue. Um, enjoying it. Not in love with it so far like I am the other ones, but I'll wait to see for the full game to come out. That's really all I have to say about it. They added some real-time combat to my turn-based JRPG, Sam. All right.
Ah,
And now I can kill the enemies in the field. I don't even have to go into a turn-based little menu. Like I don't know what they're doing here. I don't know what they're doing.
interesting. Yeah, I have to report back. I know you are. I know this is a series that's near and dear to you, so I'm excited to hear
Mm.
your full thoughts in a couple of weeks.
Well, that's all I've been playing. So why don't we jump into the news because we didn't have a lot to talk about until about an hour and a half ago when everything just decided to drop at once, including this Matt Booty interview. So, speaking with Variety for their Strictly Business podcast, president of game content and studios at Microsoft Gaming, Matt Booty addressed a number of topics. One topic was the recent closure of studios such as Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Booty states, quote, those decisions are never made lightly, they're never made quickly, and there are a lot of people and processes and oversight to make sure we're making a good decision. Booty says, when asked about the closures, adding that he didn't want to share the nitty gritty details, but mentions that Microsoft looks across leadership at studios and if the teams are set up for success in the future, not just if they were successful in the past. Booty also states out that Microsoft has been open to allowing teams to go independent in the past if it's clear things weren't a good fit, including recently with former Activision subsidiary Toys for Bob, which is now an independent studio, though the team's first game is a project being published by Xbox. So he talked more, but I want to stop here for the studio closure topic that Matt Booty addresses. Is it me, or are you reading this as, hey, we looked across the leadership at these studios, Shinji Mikami left, and despite their past success, we didn't think there was going to be much in the future for them? That's kind of how it's reading to me.
It's a question of how specific is he getting? At least this is the question for me. How specific is he getting in terms of looking across these studios and seeing if the teams are built up for success in the future? Now, is it like leadership in terms of like the general idea of leadership? Like, did they have a direction? Did they have a 20-year plan, a 15-year plan, 10-year plan, whatever? Or are they just going project by project and they're like, okay, Ghostwire Tokyo's out now, Hi-Fi Rush is out now, okay, what's next? Like, we know there were plans in place, but how concrete, how confident were those plans overall? So it's hard to say exactly what he's referencing here, but as I was reading this quote and thinking through the sure feeling of something like an Activision Blizzard, where you look at an ABK, pick any of the studios up underneath that umbrella, and you're like, okay, I know where they're probably going to be in 5 years, 10 years, that kind of thing. When you look at something like Tango Gameworks, there's a lot of insecurities there. I don't know what the best terminology is, but it's kind of like a question mark of they could be doing something absolutely killer. They could be doing smaller little indie games. Not to say that those are not good, but in terms of like making sure the businesses they're growing, I think that's kind of what he's getting at is what does the future look like? Do we know what it looked like for them? And if we didn't, we had to make some tough calls. So that's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah, it's certainly possible that that is the case. That I mean, we're never going to know the exact details. Like maybe they could have looked at it and been like, oh, they're not going to bring in enough money to justify keeping them open. They'll be better suited moving to other teams, and then those projects will make us more revenue. I know some of the people from other studios working on things like Fallout now and so on, as they've stated. But one thing I really liked here was what he said, that we've allowed teams to go independent in the past if it didn't look like things were a good fit. That kind of gives me hope that studios wouldn't be shut down in the future. Maybe I know Ninja Theory has been thrown around. I pray to God like they recognize the value in that. And I think he actually talked about Ninja Theory and their importance and things like Obsidian's Pentiment and Hellblade as the types of games that they put out for like art house pieces. So it seems to me like they do value what Ninja Theory is bringing to the table. But just as an example, like they wouldn't be shut down. They might be given the option to go independent in the future if it ever came to that.
Yeah. And then what does that even look like, though? Where do you go to a Toys for Bob and you say, hey, we don't really want you anymore. Do you want to buy your way out, or do you just cut them free, or like what I just wonder what the parameters are around that, where they allow anybody to go independent, but is there a specific threshold that they've got to meet or a specific amount of money in the bank to make that happen? Because it just doesn't make sense to me that you would allow that to happen for free. That doesn't add up in my mind. I don't know how those things work behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm not privy to that information. I we got Tay Talks in the chat here. Thanks for hanging out with us. It says studios get shut down when no one wants to inherit their studios or buy them. Ninja, I don't think will have the option to go independent. Who would finance them? I'm fairly confident they could finance themselves. Like I think were doing just fine before Microsoft bought them.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, I think it's also a question of like if they were to go independent, would anybody else want to? Would they be able to find investors and that kind of thing? And I think Ninja Theory has the prowess, the like record to probably earn some. I mean, they've got what is collectively, whether you think the game is great or not,
Hmm.
it's one of the best looking games visually speaking on this generation. So I think that you would have investors lining up to get a part of that. But yeah, it's just a weird thing to think about. Like, okay, you can be free now, how do you actually do that in a way that makes sense for Microsoft financially? Because like none of this is a good Samaritan kind of thing. They're going to make money
Yeah.
on the investment, or they're going to get the money they put in back as much as they can.
Yeah, because when Toys for Bob left, like their studio was very small when they broke away. Like they had some layoffs, but initially when they first joined Xbox, and then I don't even know how many people were working there at the time they went independent. So like I can't imagine the value proposition of Microsoft like letting them go. Like they probably maybe they were just fine. Like, hey, you're 20 employees or whatever. Like, well, we're okay with this. I don't know how much that actually mattered to them.
I'm looking up the total head count now. I think as of 2021, I think it says they had 180 in 2021. So pretty solid chunk of people. But that was also during their hey, we're making COD content.
I think most of them got laid off, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I don't know. Either way, I think we can all agree that the best route forward for the majority of studios is for them to be doing what they want in a
Hmm.
way that, you know, they can bring passion to the table, they can bring new ideas to the table, and they aren't forced into doing something like the ABK thing where, hey, by the way, Call of Duty makes a ton of money and we need you to stop doing whatever you're doing and make a remake of Wetworks for the next Modern Warfare. So I'd rather see it this way. But yeah, just super interesting to think about the behind the scenes of how these things eventually come to be.
You know what's speaking of making what you want to make, I just want to point out that it was reported today that the Crash Insane trilogy hit 20 million copies sold. And
Ooh.
then Vicarious Visions became Blizzard Albany, and they went into the coal mines to make Call of Duty and Diablo. All right. So if 20 million copies ain't enough, I don't know what you people want over here. All right.
It's true. It's true. I saw that. I didn't see exactly what the new metric was, but I always love seeing Crash hit some high numbers.
Me too. Crash Team Rumble, everyone go. No, no, don't go buy the game. I loved it, but I can't good conscience recommend someone 1 year from launch, by the way, today. It's the one
Is it
year
really
anniversary.
1 year?
1 year of Crash Team Rumble. Feels like a lifetime.
It does indeed feel like a lifetime ago. That is kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah. Well, let's talk more about Matt Booty's interview because he also spoke about the experiment to ship games on other platforms, saying that the main success has been with Sea of Thieves. Quote, we've been really pleased, noting that the team saw an uptick in Xbox and PC players when the game dropped on PS5. When asked about what this means for future Xbox exclusives, Booty reiterated that the teams are evaluating games hitting other consoles on a case by case basis, adding that Xbox players can absolutely continue to expect many games to launch as exclusives, and that the Xbox promise that all Xbox first party games come to Xbox Game Pass will continue to be true. I think there's a lot of hand waving smoke and mirrors in this statement from Mr. Booty.
Interesting. Explain what you mean by that.
He's very particular with his words. First, I'm reading it. He says, we're evaluating everything on a case by case basis. Great, like that's what we've heard from Phil when a Bethesda was acquired, right? Like titles with legacy will stay, everything else case by case basis. But then he adds, continue to expect many games to launch as exclusive. To me, that fully reads as an out for Xbox to be, hey, we're going to have exclusives, but they may eventually go to other platforms, whether that's a year, 2 years. It's essentially what PlayStation does for their PC strategy at the moment, where they like these are exclusives, but like they're launch exclusives. Like he's based. That's how I'm reading his entire statement. He gave himself a big out where he says, "Hey, all the games will be here first, Game Pass on Xbox, but then who knows? Like every game could go, no games could go, some games could go."
Yeah, I mean, is this the solution if this is the direction they're going, which it's coming straight from the man himself, so you would assume that it is. Is this the answer to like kind of fix everybody's problems here for the most part? Because you've got the console warring that's talking about how there's no exclusives. Okay, now you've got exclusives for a year to 2 years, so you checked that box. other people are able to play the games in other places with their friends, with crossplay, with all that stuff. So you're checking that box there. Game Pass is still thriving because you're able to subsidize it with other income from other sources. Doesn't this kind of like get everybody to where they need to go? Like, I don't have any problem with that approach personally.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, obviously, but I'm fine with, hey, if it's an Xbox first party game and not like a big multi-plat like Diablo, Call of Duty, the Activision Blizzard stuff, and some Bethesda titles. But if it's like an Xbox first party studio, like Obsidian, Ninja Theory, all those in the in the actual Xbox Studio family, those should be first on Xbox, and then evaluate what's going on with them. If they're like, hey, we need to get some more money back from this, like it didn't increase Game Pass subscribers enough, it didn't sell enough on PC or consoles, like bring it to PlayStation a year or 2 years later. Like, I don't really see how that devalues anything, because if you are in the Xbox ecosystem, if you're on PC, like you've had the chance to play it for an extended period of time. You've had the chance to have it in Game Pass for an extended period of time. Like, if you wanted to play it, your chance has been there. So you're not losing anything. They're not saying, hey, full multi-plat day one, so the console doesn't get as devalued, in my opinion. Like, my big thing is, if you say, and Luke said this in the chat, he said Booty's stalling, they're going full multi-platform within 3 years. I think 3 years is a very fast time frame, and I'm not saying this won't happen. It very well could happen. But if in 3 years they say we're launching everything day and date on PS5 and Nintendo's next console as well as Xbox, I don't think the console has much value at that point. Like, outside of Game Pass, if you're okay with just buying your games, like just grab a PlayStation or a Nintendo, because then you're going to have all their exclusives and the Xbox.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the way that I've seen this entire generation is like Game Pass has been the reason to get Xbox. That's why I've had Xbox. Not primarily, like that's not the driving reason, but
Mhm.
that's the majority of why I'm playing on Xbox, is because like I just re-upped today and I found a deal for like $27 for 3 months of
Saw
Game
that.
Pass. I got two of them. So now I'm good until like February of 2025 because it was going to renew in August. But I dropped $55 and I'm probably going to play, I would just guesstimate 25 to 30 games out of that over the course of the next 6 months. If I were to go buy all of those individually, I'd be spending minimum $300 if I'm getting them on sale. So the value is where it really is for me. And so if everything does go multi-platform, either way, Microsoft is still making money. I still think that if Surface has survived this long, they're going to continue to subsidize the Xbox, because Phil Spencer said that consoles are as high as they've ever been. They've got more active users than they've ever had in the company's history. So I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. And then again, you have that value of, like I just said, if you are spending $300 over the course of 6 months to buy games on a console, and you're playing on consoles that are pretty much exactly the same in power, why wouldn't you go with the one that has Game Pass? Now we'll talk a little bit in a couple of minutes about like Marvel versus Capcom and things that aren't available on Xbox, which that goes both ways. You
Mhm.
know, there are some things that just aren't on PlayStation, which comes back to the exclusivity discussion. But for me, wouldn't really bother me if the majority of stuff went multi-platform, because I'm still here for the value. That's just the way that I've always been, and the way that I will continue to be with Xbox. And playing on PC now, it's like it's tearing down those walls even more.
I want to know how many general consumers have that mindset. I really wish like this data was readily available, because it'd be so fascinating if there would just be a survey of like, if Xbox went fully multi-platform, are you gonna get a Xbox still? And like, the Xbox console sales are already not great this generation. So at what point does it I know you're pretty convinced, and you got me believing, all right? The Surface, all right? The Surface tablets gonna keep the Xbox alive, all right? But at one point do they say, we're selling 10 million of these now that we put everything everywhere? Is that enough for them to keep going? Is 20 million enough? Like, I don't know the number they get to where like, this isn't valuable anymore, this isn't worth it. Or do they, and I've heard this rumor, like, do they outsource the consoles to someone else so they get rid of that cost?
Yeah, I mean, I think that even if you outsourced it and this is just me totally riffing, like I'm not going scientific on
Yeah,
anything at
yeah.
all. But if you were to, not saying multiple SKUs, let's just say that you partnered with, I don't even know, Asus is the one that comes to mind. Whoever is creating your box, if you were to partner with Alienware to make like an Xbox console, sure, why not? And you were able to find a way that worked out for both of these companies, and it's still boxed up like an Xbox, and it still feels like an Xbox to the people that have no idea anything's changed on the back end, then you're still winning. Like it doesn't really matter to the people that are on the receiving end of these boxes how they're getting the box or like who's making it. Um, but I still just don't think that I don't think that's anything that we should be concerned about at this point in the game. But now they have kind of bought the farm. Like Activision Blizzard is under the Xbox umbrella now, and they're seeing how that whole machine works on the back end, even more than they probably already had before. And
Mhm.
so now you're looking and you're like, okay, wow, we have a significantly smaller chunk of the pie. And why aren't we putting Starfield on this kind of machine? Like, why aren't we getting on this roller coaster and taking it for a ride? I know they're having these conversations. It's just natural.
Yeah, Ty talks in the chat. Said, "Not many have that mindset. Game Pass does not sell consoles. Most people are fine buying their games. Um, I feel like most people are fine getting the best deal. That is what I would say.
I mean,
Wherever they could get things the cheapest."
I do think that people are fine buying their games, and I think that people are still conditioned right now to buy their games. But I will say, like, the way that I've thought about this is that if you look at, hey, when was the last time you bought a Blu-ray or a DVD or something? Like people are getting conditioned more and more through their entertainment to Prime Video and Netflix and YouTube Premium and YouTube TV and things like that, where you don't own things anymore. And I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying that people are getting used to, hey, I'm going to one and done this TV show. Like I'm watching The Boys right now.
Hell
I'm not going
yeah.
to buy a box copy of The Boys. I'm going to stream it on Prime Video. Um, I don't even know if they sell box copies of The Boys, but people are getting used to not owning their thing and streaming it. And so over time, as these subscriptions become more and more streamlined and regular in our everyday lives, I think that's when gaming starts to become a bigger part of it, which is why Game Pass has continued to grow to the point that it's at today. And so I think those buying options always still need to be there, but people are definitely getting used to just streaming, having a subscription, getting general access for the time that they need it instead of owning something forever.
Some part of me wonders if they are waiting, and I know Luke was saying within 3 years, but I really wonder if they're waiting to finalize the multi-platform strategy after they see what Call of Duty's impact on Game Pass is. Like, does Call of Duty come out this October and get way more subscriptions? Does it give us that boost? Does it help console sales? I almost wonder because, like, you can see a world where if they market everything correctly, really drive home the fact, like, hey, you don't have to pay $70 for Call of Duty anymore. And you know what? We got all the Call of Duties in here, in fact. So, like, come drop your $17 a month, play Call of Duty, play all these other games as well on Xbox. Does that help drive the consumer base? And then if they see that, they're like, you know what? We don't have to put as many of our games elsewhere because now we're doing good. Like, I can see a world where Call of Duty has that seismic shift, and I think people are really maybe underestimating the power of Call of Duty. But I could also see a world where no one really cares and they just pay $70 for it, where they've been playing it.
Yeah, I think that, and again, I'm not going off of anything. Like anything is possible, like nothing is for sure right now. But I think that right now is a really interesting time to have this kind of domino piece set up, because everybody always talks about the domino pieces and things. But we're on the cusp of what I would consider to be like the next generation. We're starting to talk about what a next gen console can look like. And so with Call of Duty being on Game Pass this year, with things like Fallout and Elder Scrolls and so many other games that are starting to kind of line up and become a bigger and bigger part of the Xbox strategy, when the next generation console launches, if PlayStation is still kind of doing this weird like live service kind of thing where they're not really leaning on their pillars that people have known them for, and you look at Call of Duty on Xbox, you look at Fallout on Xbox, you look at all of these other big games that are coming to Xbox, and people are back at that console, purchase at Target or Best Buy or whatever on the night they all come out, that could be a big deciding factor of, wow, Xbox has really come back a long way. Game Pass is a huge deal. And they've got the majority of games that I want to play. So
Mhm.
I think that could also be the case of right now they're just setting things up, and by the time the next console generation rolls around, it's almost hard to say no and just stick to your guns of buying a PlayStation. Like I think they're making a really compelling argument here to try the other box this time around.
I heard someone say that the value proposition of Xbox is Game Pass, but they phrased it in a way like you remember what Phil Spencer? I don't know if this was you or someone else said this to me, but when Phil Spencer was on that kind of funny interview, he said we lost the worst generation, right? Because everyone built their digital
Mm,
libraries. And then they point out, well, Game Pass is supposed to be your replacement digital library. Like, come to our platform. Here's hundreds of games to replace that digital library you're giving up if you switch over. And I was like, that's a very interesting point that I don't think I ever really thought about. Like, obviously, I knew it was a giant library of games, but I didn't think of it as an enticing proposition to like give up your other console for all the games you can have over here for $15, $17, whatever it is.
yeah, I think there's a really good argument to be made about that. But the way that I see it is, yes, you've got stuff like Doom and Gears and things that you wouldn't have to buy otherwise. But I do think that when it comes to a purposefully hand-picked library of things that you've bought over the years, there's a deeper emotional connection to that, and you have memories with every single game that you've bought.
Mhm.
Um, like if I were to go back and look at my PlayStation 4 library, I would remember buying Battlefield Hardline on day one. And I look at Battlefield Hardline in my Xbox catalog, and like I remember those Battlefield Hardline memories, but I remember them more on PlayStation because like I bought it there and I played it there. And I think that that's something that it's kind of hard because having games isn't the same thing as having that deep connection to those games in the way that you did and kind of build that out over time. So I get the idea there. I'm just not fully in on like the what do you call philosophy of the idea of having a replacement game library.
Yeah, no, I get it because I have games on Xbox that obviously I either played or bought on Xbox. My saves are there, and then they're either like they're in the Epic Game Store for free. I have them on PS Plus or something, and I'm like, this is Yakuza Like a Dragon is a great example of that.
Mhm.
I think I have that on everything now. But if I was going to play that game ever again, it'd be on Xbox because I could do New Game Plus. Like that's where I originally played it. It's like I don't want to start over. It's cool that they're in my library on these other platforms, but like, will I ever actually play these games anywhere else?
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, I would even go so far as to say, like, I was making a video a couple of days ago and I popped in the old Modern Warfare 3, like the original 22,
Yeah, the
11,
good one.
2011,
Yeah, let's go.
20, 2011. I think it was 2011 Modern Warfare 3. But I was
Sounds
popping
right.
that in. And so it was on a different account that I had played it on back in the day because I was on PlayStation back then. And so
Mm.
I put it in on my JamPackSam Xbox account and I was like a level one recruit. And so like I played it to get the footage. I got through the thing, but I'm like, this isn't my account. Like it's the game that I remember, but this isn't the game that made me get glasses that I needed them after that one summer in 2012. Like this isn't the same kind of video game for me. It's not the same exact experience. So it just didn't feel the same. And I think that's how a lot of people look at their libraries and games.
This isn't the account I went blind for. Yeah.
Dude, I swear, after that summer, I grinded Modern Warfare 3 every day from like 6 a.m. to 12 at night. I got back to school. I was like, I can't read, man. I can't see anything.
Everybody else getting all these blurry words. Like, what's going on?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Just a,
uh,
casual addiction and visual vision issues. So,
yeah. Sam Heaney in the chat. There's probably also a degree of people being set in their ways, not wanting to switch consoles, platform ecosystems, regardless of what the other side offers, which I imagine is a likely scenario. For sure. Yeah,
yeah.
I absolutely think that is a more than likely scenario for a lot of people. As I said, like I've had my girlfriend's family, like when they were in their PS3 finally died, they immediately said, well, I'm gonna get a PS5. They didn't even consider an Xbox.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
no, it's
And
just
I
not
mean,
in the
that's
mindset.
totally fair too. Like you've built up that trust in that brand over time and they have rarely missed. And so until they miss in a significant way, you have no need to like change it over. Like Xbox missed in a pretty big way whenever they said, you don't want to be connected to the internet. We have a console for you, the Xbox 360. And like things like that, the Dom Matrick just totally drove into the ground, really cost them a whole lot of stuff they're still paying for today, without a doubt.
Y'all should have just played Rise Son of Rome. Then you would have been in. All right. You
It's true.
would have had the
Come on, people.
Xbox. Saying Xbox on, Xbox off. It was
Xbox Snap.
Xbox. Yo, I loved Xbox Snap.
Xbox
Real
Snap was
talk.
sick. Let's not
25.
even. Yeah, I'm not beating around the bush on that. That was sick.
I understand it took a lot of resources and made games run significantly worse, but it was pretty convenient to like just snap a YouTube video or something while I'm playing a game.
Worth it. Worth it.
Yeah, worth it. All right, let's keep it rolling. We got the Game Pass update for the second half of June coming. So available right now. My Time at Sandrock for cloud console and PC. We have Keplerth for PC. June 25th brings you EA Sports FC 24 for cloud console PC. June 26th, you get Steam World Dig and Steam World Dig 2 for console and PC. June 27th, you get Robin Hood Sherwood Builders for cloud PC and Xbox Series X and S. Anything here piquing your interest, Sam?
Listen, man, it's not. It's not doing anything for me. Don't even lie like that. No, not really. I mean, Steam World Dig and Dig 2, maybe. It's a big maybe. But beyond that, no, nothing's really doing it. I really am kind of disappointed at the last run of Xbox Game Pass stuff, because we were kind of building up, and admittedly, part of this was on the community for being like, every Call of Duty is coming on day one of the, like we kind of went in a little bit too hard.
Tony Hawk.
Yeah, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves with that. So I'm hoping that maybe July, August, whatever, Gamescom kind of thing might bring some of those around. But I think that the high hopes have kind of now simmered back down a little bit. Now, admittedly, I'm enjoying stuff like Still Wakes the Deep. I'm enjoying the fact that Diablo 4 is still on Game Pass and that kind of thing. So I'm finding things to enjoy there. Also, Callisto Protocol, shout out. I know you and I both love that. Also on Game Pass now.
Great game.
So a great game there. So there's a good many things to play, but this new round is not really doing it for me. But I know you are already into the EA Sports FC. Are you playing on PC now? Is that going to be your move?
No. Do never play FIFA, EA Sports, whatever you call it, on PC. It's a horrible experience, full of hackers. All right, it's not. You don't
hackers.
do that. Yes. People cheat at FIFA all the time on PC. So don't play it on PC. It's the FIFA, it's not much different. You played last year's, you know what you're in for. Nothing here for me, to be honest with you. These, I think I put it in the Discord of like, this might be the most disappointing Game Pass drop I've ever seen. And I know that's for me. I understand some people might be more excited. Like I saw people I know over in the carpool community, like Sean and them, they love the Steam World games. And those are games for me. I've never even heard of those games. I don't know what that is. And that's like a whole nother thing, but there is a community out there for those types of games. It's just, this is not a drop for me at all.
Interesting. Yeah, I have heard about Steam World, and I played a couple of games on like the Vita and the 3DS, I think, way back in the day. But they've got a lot of variety in there as well, so they definitely have a lot of diversity in the gameplay. So hey, pick it up, give it a shot if you like. But yeah, I'm right there with you. This isn't really doing a whole lot for me.
All right, let's keep it going over to the Nintendo Direct, because there was a Nintendo Direct this week. And so we have even more Xbox related game announcements to discuss. Obviously, we're not going over the whole Direct, but we're going to talk about the games that were announced that are coming to Xbox platforms. So first up, Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake is coming November 14th, 2024. And it was also announced Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remakes to follow in 2025. Sam, you're not a JRPG guy. This isn't for you. I am mildly excited about this. I think I love the HD 2D style. This is from the team that did Triangle Strategy, which I really love. My only concern is I played Dragon Quest 11, which is like critically acclaimed, 95 on Open Critic, Metacritic, whatever you want to say, and I thought that game sucked. So I'm really worried that like the Dragon Quest 3 remake, the old school one, is not going to be it for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I have no idea what's even going on here. Can't even speak to it. Much like the majority of the Nintendo Direct, I'm just kind of out there floating around. But wishing you all the best with that one.
What did you think of the Nintendo Direct? Do you have a Switch?
I have a Switch Lite that has a coat of dust about that thick on it. I look at it occasionally whenever I'm getting my coffee by accident, but otherwise, I don't think I've touched it probably since 2022, maybe somewhere around there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Actually, no, I played 20 minutes of Breath of the Wild to remind me that I don't need Tears of the Kingdom. That's why that was the last time that I played my Switch.
Okay, so if you had to give the Direct a rating, what were you gonna? Because I thought this was the second best showcase, like right behind Xbox. Like this was an A tier showcase for me. This was fantastic.
Let me tell you, this was an A-tier showcase. I
Oh,
fully
nice.
agree.
All right.
Because it has gotten me to, again, Southeast Game Exchange coming up. I am now hunting for a Metroid Prime Remastered for my Nintendo Switch. I'm going to
Let's
play through
go.
that on the light. Metroid Prime 4, I've been hyped about that for 7 years. Joey Ferris over at Game Explain, before he was on Game Explain, got me hyped for that back in the day. So I am once again going to be there on day one for that. I'm not going to buy the Switch 2 because they're not getting me this time. Nintendo always gets me hyped up, and I know that I'm not going to play that console, but their marketing is too dang good. So I'm just going to play it on the standard Switch. But I thought it was fantastic. New Zelda with an actual Zelda. Obviously, we'll talk about Metal Slug here in a minute, but I love Metal Slug, so some good things in there as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Metal Slug. Metal Slug Attack Reloaded is available right now on Xbox and every other console, but it was shadow dropped. This is a tower defense Metal Slug game. I also like Metal Slug. I was pretty excited for Metal Slug Tactics coming later this year until I found out it was a
Yes.
roguelite, and then all my interest kind of just disappeared for that. This game looked pretty fun though. If you like tower defense games, which I do, like I like the art style. I can't imagine this is very expensive. So,
$10.
oh, that's a steal actually.
Yeah, it's $10. I'm probably going to pick it up. I think I have a $10 reward on Xbox, so I might pick it up over there. But anything Metal Slug, I just love this art style. I have like childhood memories of playing the Metal Slug arcade machine with my cousin. Whenever we'd go on vacation, we would all meet up for a family reunion in the mountains, and so every year we would hit a Metal Slug machine and just kind of go back and forth on it. So that was always a good time. So it's a series that's very near and dear to me. So I'm excited for Tactics. I'll definitely probably play this one as well.
Awesome, awesome. And Sam Heaney in the chat for Metroid Prime 4 2025. Boo. He picked it in Fantasy Critic. This stupid idiot.
Tough. I mean, to be fair, I didn't even think that game was real for a while there. So, yeah, it's on you, bud.
Also, to be fair, they had Shadow of the Erd Tree as well. They're pulling away. They're pulling away now.
You know what we had though? Not much of anything, so I can't
South
really
Park Snow Day.
I don't have a comeback. You know, that was on me. I'll take
if
the
it
fall
makes
for
it
that
feel
one.
better, that 10 points we lost doesn't even get us within we're still like 30, 40 points away.
Yeah. Shadow of the Erd Tree was a really good pick. It's a really good pick. Highest
y'all
rated DLC of all time, by the way.
You all really think it's that good, huh? Like, come on, you like dying that much?
Right? I mean, I'm in the Eurogamer camp where I think they were being mean to me, and I don't like games that are mean to me. So I'm right there with them.
Oh yeah, we did get the final shape, which shout out Bungie. We never doubted you, our beloved Bungie.
Oh yeah, we never doubted you for a second at all.
All right, back to the direct. Just Dance 2025 is coming in October. This is not an Xbox game for me. My girlfriend does like Just Dance. We have Just Dance 2022 or something on the Switch. I like it on the Switch. You put the Joy-Con in it's fine.
Cool. I again haven't touched one of these games. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you though.
Mistwalker is finally bringing their iOS JRPG. Stay with me. Fantasian Neo Dimension to other consoles, including Xbox Series consoles this winter. This is from the creator of Final Fantasy. Again, very JRPG heavy direct, I would say. If you weren't into the Mario, I would say even the first party games, Mario and Luigi. But I'm not in on this game. Like, this might be a sale game. It's good to see it finally get off iOS because from everything I've heard, this is a very good JRPG, but it was stranded on the Apple Arcade Store.
I know nothing about it. I'll take a pass. I'm going to trust you on that one once again. I don't even know what to say.
Maybe you're in for this one. Mio Memories in Orbit is a stunning Metroidvania coming to Xbox and other consoles in 2025. This is published by Focus Entertainment. I thought the art style of this one was gorgeous. It gave me Ori vibes.
Interesting. I am Googling these as well. I have found the previous one. Now I'm looking at this one. And immediate reaction. We're doing a real-time thing. Yes, Ori Spiritfarer. That's what I'm getting from this so far.
Ori Spiritfarer.
It looks like a hand-drawn Ori, and I'm not hating it so much. This is definitely a check it out if it's in like an indie showcase or something for me so far.
Yeah. This one looked pretty good. I am a big fan of Focus and the games they publish. So if they're saying this is a good one, I might keep an eye out for this as well. So
I will say there's a quality thing popping up with Focus. Like I always see the Focus thing and I'm like,
mhm.
okay, I'm gonna lock in for this. Like
Yeah.
there's a rapport there. I think it's probably because of Space Marine, but like nonetheless, here we are.
And A
Focus is
Plague
doing some good.
Tale and Evil
Yeah.
West
Yeah, like
and all
there's a
yeah.
quality there that you're going to either get like a high double A or like a really good indie level kind of
Mhm.
experience from them. So there's some excitement there for me. I'll say that.
I know they just announced 2 new publishing agreements. I forget the one studio. I think it's a brand new studio that they're working with, but then they're doing the follow-up game from the team that did Chants of Sonar, which I
Oh,
know Sam Heaney in the chat really loves. So Focus is helping them out with their next game.
very cool. Yeah, that's the Chance of Sonar is another one that's on my Game Pass backlog. I'll probably play that maybe after Still Wakes the Deep if I'm kind of feeling that because it's on Game Pass as well. So
Yep. Next up, Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports is coming to all consoles this fall. This is published by Game Mill Entertainment, everyone. So before you get too excited, just know most of their games are shovelware.
yeah, I mean, judging by the title, I thought that maybe DC was this is Warner Bros, right?
Yes.
So I thought maybe this was going to be the Warner Bros. This is their next follow up hit to Hogwarts Legacy. Maybe this is the one that could put them back on the map with their gaming initiatives.
Nah, Game Mill likes to take licensed properties and then make really crummy games out of them, except Nickelodeon All Star Brawl. Those are good, but they make you might know this one, Skull Island, the Kong game.
Ah, yes, I am familiar. Now I know where I heard Game Mill from. Okay,
Yes,
I've
and they
got you. I'm locked
yeah.
in there.
Yeah, so that's if that gives you any type of idea what kind of quality we're working with. But it didn't look horrible, but it's also said 4-player local co-op, nothing about online. So yeah, I'm kind of limited already for this one.
Yeah, it the trailer is not winning me over too much, but hey,
No.
maybe it's the what Super Mario All Stars or Sluggers or whatever of the Looney Tunes world. Maybe that'll be what this is.
Can't be worse than the most recent Mario Strikers game because that was horrible.
Ah, well, maybe that's the bar to hit. Maybe I don't know.
Ace Attorney Investigations Collections coming September 6th to Xbox from Capcom. I don't care about the Ace Attorney game. It's cool that they're all now on Xbox, but this is not a Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, whatever you want to call it. I do not care about this game.
These are also in my Game Pass backlog. I played them back in the day. Like I think I played an Ace Attorney once again on the 3DS. I don't know why the 3DS is popping up on my mind a lot tonight, but here we are. But yeah, I mean, again, not really one that did a lot for me. If you can't tell, I didn't watch the Nintendo Direct. I just
Hmm.
caught the highlights of like going through the list of
Yeah.
games that were announced and caught the trailers that I cared about. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Well, this one isn't coming to Xbox, but there's been conversation about it. So I want to get your thoughts. Marvel versus Capcom Collection is skipping Xbox, coming to Switch and PlayStation 4. From what I've read from Jez Corden, this is something to do with the MT framework that Capcom uses, and it doesn't work on Xbox One anymore. So they can't bring those games over, which is why a lot of like the ports that Capcom are doing seem to be skipping the Xbox One. Um, do I think that's a reasonable excuse? Maybe. I don't know enough about it. Do I think it still sucks? Yes, I do, because I would have loved to play Marvel versus Capcom 2.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this isn't really the game that I would have gone in for. It's not really my kind of thing. But there is something to be said about having that kind of like you can experience this kind of nostalgic thing anywhere with the excuse that's being used of, hey, this doesn't really work on the architecture of the Xbox ecosystem as it does on other places. I get that. And I guess that probably in my mind comes down to if we were to invest the time and money into making it work in a way that feels the same as the other platforms, would we recoup the money from people buying the games on Xbox? And if that community isn't here on Xbox and they can't see a future where they are confidently going to be able to get that money back that they would spend and the time they spend getting this game running, then yeah, it's not going to make sense. And so I think that's probably where they net it out. It just sucks that, hey, by the way, this is at a Nintendo showcase and we can't get it running on the Xbox. Like that's just
Hmm.
embarrassing, quite frankly.
Yeah, and it's I think it was Mav from Fun Speculation was like pointing out all the new Capcom games that are on Xbox and not on Switch, and then the old ones skip Xbox. And I was like, so it's definitely it's not people are painting this as Capcom now has a vendetta against Xbox. It's like that is not the case. whatsoever. It has to be something with the ports. It sucks for fighting game fans, and I understand that like the fighting game community is bigger on PlayStation. Like PlayStation owns Evo, all the console fighting games are played on PlayStation. Like that is the fighting game console, but it is still nice to get these types of experiences.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, do you think that in the future this changes and that Capcom inevitably brings something to Xbox that we typically wouldn't get because of hardware limitations? Or is it just kind of like a, hey, we're going to get all these out of the way and going forward, we'll give
It
you love?
it would have to be, as you were saying, something that's gonna recoup a substantial investment, I think, or Xbox fronts the bill for them to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. And I just don't know if Xbox even has faith in that kind of like part of their community being worth the time and investment. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, yeah. For like, if it was a Game Pass deal, I could understand them like, hey, we'll give you some money that will go on Game Pass. But in terms of just general sales, like I always go back to the Tekken 8. Is that the most recent one? Like the player breakdown, it's like almost no one of that pie chart is on Xbox.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just a fact, and I think it even goes back to like what Matt Booty was saying about the hard business decisions they've got to make. Like if there isn't a legitimate direct future where they're making cash or making money or generating revenue, then sometimes hard decisions have to be made, and this is probably one of them.
All right, Sam. Well, that's the Nintendo Direct and every game coming to Xbox from it. Let's wrap up the news with Xbox returning to Gamescom this year. So, Xbox Game Studios has announced it will be attending the world's biggest gaming convention, Gamescom 2024, to hold what it has described as its quote, biggest booth yet. Xbox will bring several upcoming Xbox titles to the event with plans to reveal more games as we get closer to Gamescom 2024. There'll also be an opening night live, I assume, which is another Jeff Keighley production. We do have a question from Terabo who writes in, says the rumor says Xbox has a decent amount to show at Gamescom with the Developer Direct, Xbox Showcase, Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, and the Game Awards. How important are these events to Xbox in terms of capturing the casual audience?
Great question. I mean, we got the confirmation this week that PlayStation isn't going to be attending Gamescom, so they're not going to be doing anything there. Not to say they won't have their own event in or around that week, that time frame. So, anything's possible. But I think that Xbox being consistently at these events is a good way to kind of continually reinforce, like, hey, we're showing up, biggest booth ever, games to show off. Come listen to our podcast or whatever, and you'll get kind of in the loop. Now, in terms of like what they have announced is going to be there so far, you got Age of Mythology Retold, Avowed, Our History Untold, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred, Diablo Immortal, ESO, Fallout 76, Towerborn, and Warcraft. So I mean, it's a Gamescom lineup, like there's nothing here that's really breaking the bank. Couple of things that stand out to me, obviously, Avowed, Vessel of Hatred, marginally interested in like the ongoing games, even Immortal. I'm kind of like, okay, what are you guys going to do with that? But yeah, I don't think this is something that's going to be like setting any records for what's crazy going on at Gamescom, because it seems like that one has really kind of taken a back seat. I think it's still the largest gaming event in the world. Like it's
Yeah, it
still
is.
like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but it never really seems like it's a news bringer. Like it's not a mic drop moment for a lot of companies, like it might have been back in the day.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how opening night live goes this year for Gamescom. Obviously, as I said, Jeff Keighley puts it on after Summer Game Fest, which I think by and large most people found to be an okay, disappointing show. Nothing really amazing that came out of that. Like, do we see any big reveals? Does PlayStation skipping, obviously, so nothing from them. We won't get the Lego Horizons, like was a SGF. Does Xbox kind of fill those slots with some announcements? I'm interested in maybe getting more information about things like Towerborn, where
Mm-hmm.
they said, I know this week, that the game's still slated to come out 2024. They provided an update about some the facilities and some of the gameplay stuff that you can do in the game. Is this where we see stuff like that caliber, or is this going to be some sort of big announcement where Xbox really goes all out and tries to make another big marketing beat? Because from what we've heard, like they had a lot of stuff that they couldn't fit into their showcase. Do they drop it here? Do they save it for the Game Awards, or do they hold on to it? Maybe it's 2025 stuff and we get that developer direct in January. Like they have so many places where they can drop so many games now. Like I have no idea what they do as a marketing team.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing. I think we talked about it whenever we were going through like how do you find time to squeeze in all these games? And with Towerborn, number one, why are we still talking about that game? I should be playing it by now. Like that is not the level of game
It
that
said
we're like.
early 2024.
Well, that is not the kind
swear.
of game you can just drag me out for 2 years and I'm still hyped about. I'm sorry. It might be great. I know there's been like beta tests and stuff. We got to get these things out the door, like stuff like that. I would love to see Towerborn like, hey, by the way, it's available now, like at
That'd be great.
Gamescom. That would be awesome just to get that out. One thing I do think we are definitely going to see is avowed either updated time frame for release or release date. Like you've got to say November, December, or hey, we're going to push it to March or whatever you plan to do there. We've got to officially say these things because we're starting to get to the point where it's like, no one's ever owed information, but if I'm planning out how I'm spending my money this year or like what I'm getting hyped about, okay, we've got Indie and Avowed. They're both kind of competing for this fall time frame. What's coming out? What are we doing here? So I think that we need to get some more details here. And I think the Gamescom could be the place we get that for some of the smaller quote unquote kind of stuff. So maybe that'll be what we see.
Avowed release date, I don't know where else they would announce it because the rumor was not the rumor, but the leak from Obsidian blog post was November 12th. And I don't think there's any other gaming events in between Gamescom and November 12th. So like it really feels like this has to be the place unless they're just going to drop it in a gaming blog on Xbox Wire. But for me, like you want that extra marketing beat. You want another trailer for Avowed. You want the release date hype of seeing it at the end, unless it's being delayed, and then maybe we hold off, and that is the Xbox Wire. Hey, like guys, we need more time coming out next year, which I really hope it isn't, but remains to be seen. Indiana Jones not mentioned at all in this as one of the games going. I don't know whether it's going to be added to the slate or what's going on there, but I guess we'll see. I do think there is a possibility for Xbox to have a big presence here. I just really are the games ready is the big question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that for me, I would really love to see Avowed truly get a marketing push, and that could be in the cards. But looking at that world that they're building, the lands between has so much to offer people, and like there's so much lore there that you can dig into. And I just don't really feel like they've done a good job so far of selling people on that game, even over the past couple of years. Like you've got some gameplay that you look at and you're like, ah, yes, colorful old Bethesda, and like that's the vibe that you get from it. And so I would love for people to get sold on the characters a little bit more outside of like an Xbox podcast. Like you've really got to do, I don't know if it's a live action. I don't know if it's like a hype trailer, what that looks like, but I feel like there's so much more you could do for that game to make it a little bit more convincing of a sit down and play or a buy. So I'm really hoping that that's the kind of thing we start to see. And it's not just leaning on the big pillars like Diablo 4 here. So that's what I would love is to have a true avowed marketing push.
Yeah, because I've been in on Avowed since day one. Like I was like, oh, this looks great to me, like fantasy Western RPG. I'm in, but there have been a lot of people that have been skeptical, especially after some of the trailers. I know people weren't thrilled about the developer direct showing. They thought the combat looked stiff and things didn't look as good as they could. And I know every trailer has kind of slowly gotten people more on board with Avowed, but I still do feel like there is the room to get more of the general gaming audience because like at this point if you asked me if Avowed came out how many people outside of the Xbox ecosystem would really care, I don't know if it's a whole lot.
No, I don't think so. I think that for me, it's just in my mind, there is really no. If I'm somebody from the outside looking in, and you come to me and you say, "Hey, I've got these two RPGs. I've got Starfield and I've got Avowed." You are starting from zero, pre-Starfield release with both of them. No one knows really what either of these things are. With Starfield, you say, "This is Bethesda's first new IP in over 20 years." Okay, great, cool. Then Avowed, these are the people that made Fallout New Vegas and the Outer Worlds. You've got the same like you got a pedigree that you can talk about with both of them. And I feel like we're just not getting that same treatment with Avowed, where you're like, they hyped up Starfield. That's like a pillar. It's on the back of the box of an Xbox. Like they've really given that thing a lot of love, when Avowed could have had the exact same kind of treatment. And it still could, not saying you've got to put it on the back of the box, but like there's more you could be doing there to really prove to people like, hey, these guys are cool and they're making something cool. You should try it and you might like it. I feel like I
Well,
want more of that.
there should be something in the marketing that says from the creators of the Outer Worlds. Like, people know the Outer World. Like, that game I think punched above its weight in a lot of ways. And like, they're like, oh, they're making a fantasy RPG now. Like, that's really cool. And I don't, unless you're like in the know and you're like, oh, I know Obsidian Games, like, you really probably don't know that this is the same team.
Yeah, I think they've really got to lean in more into that. And I don't know if it's been in a trailer, but
I don't
or if they're
remember it being in a trailer. I know they've put in the Starfield one, like from Bethesda, but like, but did they ever be like from the creators of Fallout, Sky, an Elder Scroll? Like, was that I'm? It might have happened, but
I
like
think
in
they
my
said that from
mind,
the creators of like other stuff for Starfield, but I haven't seen a whole lot of like, I know it's a cheap out, but it's like if you have a greatest
but
hit,
it's
you know,
pedigree. It's pedigree.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you're Guns N' Roses, you're not going to come in with like one of your like smaller little side hits. You're like, hey, I wrote Sweet Child of Mine. And everybody's like, ah, you're that guy. Like, I
Hmm.
need that. You did Fallout New Vegas. That's sick. I know you. Like, they've got to really lean into that because otherwise you're just leaving money on the table for the sake of trying to make your name known without having
Fallout New
something to lean
Vegas
back
would
on.
also be a good one to throw on the splash screen from
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
creators of
saying. Like,
Fallout New Vegas. Outer Worlds
yeah,
comes Avowed.
yeah, that's exactly what they should do. And I think that would be a wise move. But hey, what do I know?
Ah, all right. Well, we'll see what happens with Gamescom. That's coming up in August, I believe, is Gamescom. So stay tuned for that. We got one listener question to round out the show, Sam, and then we'll get on out of here. Sam Heaney, who's been hanging out with us in the chat, says, with rumors of Halo Combat Evolved, I almost like Collector's Edition, Halo
Hold
Combat
on now.
Evolved.
I'm
Yeah.
locked in. Where's it at?
Rumors of Halo Combat Evolved being remade and a PS5 port speculated. People have assumed Xbox are looking to maximize sales by releasing each Halo game individually instead of the Master Chief Collection. This leads to something I've been considering. Are they going to do the same with Gears of War? As rumored of a Gears collection have persisted for ages, the announcements of Gears E-Day changes things. With it becoming the first game chronologically, it serves as nostalgia bait for the OG fans, but also becomes the optimum entry point for new audiences who can then buy each Gears title individually thereafter. What are your thoughts on this being the potential strategy to get the most games from a multi-platform push?
I think that's a super interesting idea. And I've seen a couple of people talking about that online. I don't know if I think that they're going to be doing like a, hey, we made Gears Ultimate Edition on Xbox One. We rebuilt that kind of like it's really more of a remaster. And I think like 2015, something like that. It's been like a
It
long
was something
time.
like that. Yeah. Well, it
And
was
then
for the
they,
One X, so whenever that came out, 2017.
was it the One X?
I'm almost certain it was for the One X.
Gears Ultimate Edition, Xbox One. Let's see.
It came out in 2015. You're right. Never
Yeah,
mind.
because that it came out and then there was that weird rare replay combo pack, and I was
Did it
like,
get
"What
a
is?"
patch for the Xbox One X? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I think it got a next gen upgrade.
Okay.
Maybe. Hold on. Let's see. Next gen upgrade. Uh, I think
You
it's just
know,
enhanced for the One X.
yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
so
I
it
was
got
thinking
like
of.
it got like an up res or whatever. But either way, it's now running at 60 FPS and it's got all the bells and whistles and stuff. So either way, they improved that. And then Gears 2, Gears 3, all the rest of them, I believe, got like the FPS boost and the auto HDR and like all of the other stuff. So like
Mhm.
they're basically remade, kind of, like it's not 100%. And I don't know if I think they would kind of divvy them up like that. If that were the way to go with the multi-platform thing, I think that could be something they end up doing. I keep thinking though about like the Herman Hulst hypothesis with the PC stuff of, hey, we've got Gears of War E-Day coming out on the Xbox, and then eventually that comes to, let's just say, PlayStation 2 years down the line. Then the next Gears, does that then convince people to come back and buy an Xbox? What's their strategy with that? Because I think that makes a lot of sense too. But either way, talking in terms of hypotheticals, it could happen. I think right now you're still just seeing them get locked into kind of revitalizing that franchise overall. And maybe E-Day won't sell well. I think it
Mm.
will, but I think that sales are going to determine what they do next. Because if Gears of War E-Day crushes it, which I think that it will, how do you go back to Gears 6 and like continue the story of Kate and like the rest of that whole storyline?
It's a predicament because, like, I think Gears 4 is really good. I wasn't as hot on Gears 5, although I know people love it. And like, you have a cliffhanger that you can't just leave there. I understand that people really liked the original trilogy, and nostalgia is a hell of a thing. And like, I am way more excited for Gears of War E-Day than I have been for any Gears related thing in years. So like, does it come out? Does it bang, as you're saying? And then they're like, well, do we make a sequel? Do we go back to Gear 6? Like, do they hire another team to finish? Like, hey, here's the story. Can you just go make this, and we're gonna make like Marcus and Dom stuff? Or I really don't know where they go with Gears of War from there. But to answer Sam's question here, like, I'm very skeptical of this whole Halo Combat Evolved being remade for PS5 and Xbox rumor. Like, seems like a waste of time to me personally, because we have the Master Chief Collection. The only way that I'd be like, I wouldn't say upset, but like, for me, Halo and Gears are kind of still like off limits for multi-platform, like going to PlayStation. Like,
Yeah.
we're not at that point yet. Like, we have other properties we have to bring over before we start bringing over like the two flagship properties of Xbox, in my opinion. Like, you got to work up to that.
Yeah, that's
Now,
kind of like
yeah,
if you.
sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, like, if you're behind on your bills and you're trying to like make up for lost revenue, you're not gonna like sell the house first. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you're gonna bring over your Sea of Thieves and your Hi-Fi Rush, and you're gonna like slowly get rid of these. So you'll bring Starfield over, and then if you're like, man, I really need cash, all right, bring the Chief out. You know, like that's when you really go back and you start digging into the catalog. I don't think it'd be a bad idea because, again, like I said last week when we were talking about it, fill those servers, man. I want more people playing Halo. Bringing those PlayStation noobs into the mix. Let me stomp on it for a little while.
These would sell millions and millions of like, I have no doubt that they'd probably make their money back from development on PlayStation alone, just because, like, for one, novelty, but two, like, they're just good games. And I think most gamers realize that. Like, if you've never played Halo, but like, Halo was a zeitgeist moment. Like, you've grown up hearing about Halo. Like, just the fact that it's on PlayStation now, you'd be able to experience. Like, I think it's going to get a lot of people in for it. And then you have obviously the people that have experience that want the remake. So I can, if we ever get to the break glass moment, all right, where they're like, Gears and Halo are going, we've brought everything else over, sell them all individually, $70 each, $80 if that's what games are going for at the time. All right, I want all of them individually. I want them raking in the cash for all of them. I don't know if we need to remake all of them. That seems like a bit much, as you were saying, but who knows how long this is going to take. Like, if this is 10 years down the road, a remake makes way more sense for something like Gears 2, Gears 3. And as I said, I think last week, but like, Gears 2 and 3 still aren't on PC. So that leads me to like, that's more of a reason to remake them than I think PlayStation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then also with Unreal Engine 5 being used for Gears of War E-Day, they said that it's 100 times more detailed than even Gears of War 5 was, or Gears 5, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, but so the detail is there. If you've already got these models for Marcus and Dom, you've got this world that's kind of like set in the same kind of like, do you have assets you can reuse to expedite the development of full remakes of the entire series? And if so, do you repackage them in $80 a piece, or do you make a Phoenix collection? Because I think that might be the way to do it, is like a remade or remastered collection with like new textures, new models, that kind of thing, slotted in, and then you sell that for $80, and then you put it in Game Pass as a benefit as well there too. But if you want to make money, I'm told PlayStation people love buying their games, so hey, put out as many as you want.
They do, and this is why I'm going to suggest, last thing, I think all the games going over should now be digital deluxe editions only. No physical copies. All right. We're gonna just $80 minimum. All right. Go to 100 if you got to pull the Ubisoft. All right.
It's true. It's true. And then I need to bring back the multiplayer passes that EA had for like 2015 to 2018.
Mass Effect 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be included. Yeah.
Yeah. Bring those back. I think that's a good idea.
Yep. When you were like, oh, they got the new assets, my mind immediately went to, well, Banjo got new model for Smash Brothers, but we never got a new Banjo game.
I love where that's where you went.
In case anyone thinks how my brain works. But Sam, that is it for this week's show. We can get on out of here. You want to let everyone know where they can find you, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me JamPackSam everywhere there is content, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I had a good week. Looking forward to doing more stuff. I'm really glad we're out of the Summer Game Fest period. You know,
Mhm.
life is back to where like I'm sleeping more than 4 or 5 hours a night. I don't have showcases to watch every time I have a free moment. It's good. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, oh, I did watch the limited run games showcase today. I don't know
Ah,
if
yes.
you checked that one out. They had
Yes.
Gex the Gecko make a John Wick reference, which I thought was really cool.
Interesting. I saw that Beyond Good and Evil 2 20th anniversary
Mhm.
has finally been announced in the 21st year after it came out, and probably like 15 years after Beyond Good and Evil 2 was announced. So,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah,
killing
it
it.
has it has an exclusive narrative story that ties into Beyond Good and Evil 2. So they're still lying to everyone and telling us this game's gonna happen.
I haven't caught up. Are you serious?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That is crazy that that game is, they're still pretending this is real.
Yeah, they put a new mission into it to connect to the sequel.
That's a whole, oh my God, that's a whole, we'll have to talk. Maybe that's post show. Maybe that's the post show right there of just
Yeah, we'll talk
airing of
about
the
the
grievances. That's
airing of the
crazy.
grievances. All right. Well, you can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere. It's a 1 to 7 I O and 7 A. Follows that Save Game Media to stay up to date with all of our latest content. Until next time, we'll see you. Goodbye.